Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roadmap to Freedom. We're at the 10th session of the first team of the project. I want to stress again and again it will be a total solution to all problems or no solution at all. It is essential that we carefully identify the factors that have led to the success of the physical sciences. And one of those factors is so simple that the significance of it has not been fully recognized. Without this important essential, it's impossible to build a science. The essential is called semantic precision. And where we have achieved the most advanced level of progress, namely the physical sciences, we have also achieved the most advanced level of semantic precision. And this is not an accident. The progress of the physical sciences is a direct derivative of the intellectual foundation called semantic precision. In physics, for example, the important term force has only one single precise meaning. And since there is only one definition of force in physics, it will be clear to anyone who studies physics what the term force precisely means. We possess a common language. The foundation of this common language is called semantic precision. Otherwise, it is like Babylon, where God made everyone speak different languages and the tower was not completed. Why? The builders were unable to understand each other. The term freedom is used by many and often, but is there a precise meaning to the term freedom? We will find almost everyone is openly an advocate of freedom. There are few who will admit of being advocates of slavery, of course, but most people are for freedom. This includes Albanians, Englishmen, Germans, Protestants, Catholics, Jews, socialists, communists, fascists. Any of these people would say, I am for freedom. I am against slavery. There are people marching for freedom, demonstrating for freedom, rioting for freedom, burning down banks for freedom, blowing up schools for freedom, throwing bombs into crowded theaters for more freedom. What if you were to stop one of these fighters for freedom? Just as he's about to throw a Molotov cocktail through a department store window. And you say, excuse me, before you burn down this department store, you've stated that you're doing it for freedom, right? Can you please define freedom? And what is your estimate of the number of department stores that will have to be burned down before we can have freedom? Ask any so-called freedom fighter to define the goal, and he's usually lost. He might come up with some vague answers. They're, upon examination, far from precise. And when he realizes that he's been exposed as one who doesn't know what he's talking about, he might put forth a classic defense, a cliche I've heard many times. Well, that's only semantics. If an individual claims to be seeking freedom, and he claims that freedom is his destination, and he is ready to burn, beat, kill maybe for his goal, then I think a fair question is what is freedom? What he is fighting for? If he cannot precisely define the term freedom, then how does he know what his destination is? The obvious answer, he doesn't. Let's see if we can put some precision into the concept of freedom and slavery. First of all, what actions must be taken in order to enslave a volitional being? What do slaves have in common? They lost something, right? But what? They lost freedom. Okay, but what does it mean? It means that they lost control over the derivatives of their lives. Now let's consider three familiar slave types of slavery. One, the Egyptian slave, like about 4,000 years ago, building the pyramid for Pharaoh. Two, the Roman slave of 2,000 years building an amphitheater called the Colosseum for the emperor. And three, the African slave in America 200 years ago building the plantation for the plantation owner. I will identify the two principal derivatives of life over which the slave has lost control. All forms of slavery have one single origin. The slave have lost control of the tangible and intangible derivatives of his life. The intangible derivatives of life include actions, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, innovations. For example, the actions of the Egyptian, Roman, and African slave are restricted to those set forth by the slave master. You see, if the slave is dissatisfied with his situation, it will not really do him very much good to give a notice to the slave master saying, Mr. Slave Master, things are done seem to quite not working, out in my favor. Therefore, I am giving you this notice. I am leaving by the end of the next week. Funny, right? The slave's actions are controlled without his permission. Is it observable, right? Then we have the tangible derivatives of life: food, clothing, shelter, furniture, tools. The tangible derivatives of a slave life is also controlled, like his actions, without his permission or consent. So, if your goal is to enslave as many individuals as you possibly can, what is the problem that you must completely solve? It's this: how can you gain control of the individual's tangible and intangible derivatives of his life? How can this be accomplished? And since most individuals do not like to part with the derivatives of their life for nothing, in the end you will have to seize control, or, in other words, just take away those various derivatives of life without the permission of the owner. On the other hand, please note carefully, if the slave can ever solve the problem of how to retain permanent and total control over his life, he is no longer a slave. In fact, he's been liberated for free. Once a slave gains total control over the derivatives of his life, tangible and intangible, he has been liberated. Next time, we will talk about methods of enslaving people in ancient to modern times and about means that can be employed to stop it. I hope you already realize we do have slaves in our times. They look different, but the essence is the same. Something was taken from them without their consent or permission. Until the next